Welcome back. Before we get into the video, did want to thank a new channel member here, Mark Green, with a Tier 1 membership. Mark, glad you enjoy the videos. Thank you so very much for that channel membership. And while I'm at it, I want to say thank you as well to all of the names on this board. It is getting filled up. Might have to go to 2 boards here soon to fit all the channel members on it. But thank you all very much for your support. Now let's jump into today's video. All right, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about Danny Sams and the 2025 season preview for him with High Limit Racing. He is a full-time competitor with the series in 2025, and he is the first Rookie of the Year contender that we have talked about so far in these season previews. So Danny Sams III, 22-year-old driver out of Northport, Florida. He drives a Maxim chassis that is crew chiefed by his father, Danny Sams Jr. The car chief on the car is his mom, Tina Sams, and the tire specialist is Ben Nicoleff, who used to work on Jordan Charge's car down in Australia, but he is now making his way over here to the States to work on Danny Sams' car for the 2025 campaign. Now, so far in these previews, we've done Justin Peck and we have done Brent Marks. And this part of the board right here underneath the 2025 schedule is a little bit scary looking if you are a Danny Sams fan, or maybe if you're Danny Sams himself might be watching this video here. But basically what this is, if you are not watching the channel regularly, all of the tracks that are written in red here are new tracks for that particular driver. The tracks that are in green are on the high limit schedule and a track that that driver has won at in the past. So for Danny Sams, out of all 14 full-time drivers this season, he has the most tracks that have never been visited to before. 23 new racetracks this year for Danny Sams. He has won at 2 of them, Butler Motor Speedway in Michigan and Lawrenceburg Speedway in Indiana. Luckily for Danny Sams, those tracks are on back-to-back days later on, I believe in May, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be a good weekend there for Danny Sams. But looking at the beginning portion of the schedule, and I've mentioned this already with Brent Marks and Justin Peck, the beginning of the season is going to be tough for Danny Sams if he cannot figure things out at these new racetracks. So you got Vegas right there. That's the first 2 races. Then you go to Tulare. That's race number 3. Then you go to Kern. That's race 4. Paris is 5. Arizona is 6 and 7. Vado is 8. Route 66 is 9. I think after that, Dodge City is 10, and then Texarkana. So Danny Sams, the first 10 or 11 races of the year are going to be racetracks that he has never seen before. After that, Tri-City Speedway in Illinois, both tracks in New York with Utica Rome and Ransomville, couple tracks in PA with Grandview and Port Royal. Port Royal is a little bit scary as well because we do have 5 or 6 races there this year. 141 and Red Cedar in Wisconsin, Eagle Raceway in Nebraska, and then the entire West Coast swing, Placerville, Silver Dollar, Douglas County, and Skagit, and then a couple more tracks in the PA area, Path Valley, and then Bridgeport in New Jersey. So 23 tracks for Danny Sams that will be new to him this year. So right there, he's already at a little bit of a disadvantage compared to the rest of the field. He's not the only one that has 20 tracks on their list, but he's got the most at 23. Now, last year, Danny Sams was 38th overall in the SprintCarRatings.com ranking system, meaning that SprintCarRatings.com thinks that they think that he is the best driver, 38th best driver out of all of the 410 competitors that ran in 2024. Now, in 2024, obviously he was not a full-time driver with High Limit, so the numbers on this stat line and his best 2024 stat are a little bit harder to come by. And so for that one, I kind of just put right there, he got 3 wins during the Ohio Sprint Speed Week, and he also got 2 IRA wins, and they came back-to-back at Gondik Law Speedway, and I believe the other one was at Cedar Lake, if I am not mistaken. The Ohio Speed Week wins came at Hilltop, Muskingum County, and Atomic Speedway, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he won at a variety of racetracks. He won 5 times in the 410, got a couple of 360 wins as well last year, so that's pretty darn good. Was definitely the best year of Danny Sams' career in 2024, and now he's going to take the next step up and go on a national tour for the very first time. Now, looking at his overall stat line from last season, these numbers are a lot harder to find for a guy that did not run with a single series last year. He had 67 410 sprint car starts last year. 5 of those resulted in victories. We mentioned those over there a few moments ago. He had 9 top 5s, 15 top 10 finishes. He had 126 laps led, and the glaring number here on this stat line is a minus 85 in the feature events. Now, I did the math twice. It might be off by a few here and there, but I'm pretty sure I had that correct there. At a minus 85, it's you just go on sprintcarratings.com, look at his feature start, look at his feature finish, and you add it up like that. But a minus 85 for Danny Sams, and we'll talk more about that here in just a moment. His average start was an 11.4 for all of his events and a 13.2 average finish. So those average starts and average finish, I mean, this is between the Outlaws, High Limit, Fast, POWRi, weekly shows, all of that stuff was added into those numbers. So it's a little bit of a flawed stat, I guess you could say, because it wasn't like he had a 13.2 average finish against the Outlaws. I mean, this is everything. The fast wins, all that stuff, right, is included in that stat line. Now, at the very bottom, we've got the strengths of Danny Sams. We've got things that I believe he should improve on this year, and the prediction for what I think he will do this year with High Limit Racing. So we'll start over here in the strengths. And I think it's been clearly, it's blatantly obvious after Volusia Speedway Park last week with the Outlaws that Danny Sams has very, very good engines. It is clear that that is the case. He qualified well each and every night, it seemed like, and was in the dash a couple of times, made all 4 main events, and that's a tough place to do it. I mean, you could have fantastic engines, but you could lose 2 or 3 of them in 1 week at Volusia. Whoever is doing the tuning on the engine, not only is it fast, but it is reliable as well. Danny Sams did not have any engine issues throughout the week. And so obviously to be good in this industry, you have to have really good power plants. And it does seem like Danny Sams has no issue in that department. It also appears that he qualifies pretty well. We saw him qualify well at Volusia. We saw him qualify well last year against the Outlaws and against High Limit, and obviously against Fast when he was able to get those wins and the IRA. So Danny Sams, I say, with qualifying is one of the biggest strengths in his whole racing repertoire, right? We'll talk more about the rest of his other things here in just a moment. He also appears to be pretty good in the slick. So if a track really slicks off, not a ton of grip, that does appear to be a strength of his as well, i.e. the 3 Ohio Sprint Speed Week wins. If you know anything about Ohio Sprint car racing, it is dusty, it is slick, there is not much grip to get a hold of, and to win 3 Ohio Speed Week wins in 1 little week right there is pretty impressive and shows that he is good in the slick. The final thing I've got on the strengths department, he is just very good at the beginning of the night. He's good in hot laps, he's good in qualifying, and usually he can get through the heat races and make the show as well. Now, transitioning into the things that I believe he needs to improve on here a little bit, in the features is where he kind of has the backup lights, you know, or the reverse beepers, whatever you want to say. I mean, you can see right there with the minus 85 on the plus minus department. This is something that I think I've heard Danny Sams, I think I've heard him say this in an interview as well, that in the features is where they've got to kind of tighten things up a little bit. And I think after this year of running a 60 race schedule against the best, he's going to learn and develop and figure out how to stay up front in these races more often, because he's starting up at the front of these races more often than not, just not able to stay up there. He kind of slips back a couple of spots or has a parts failure or whatever it may be. So the backup lights in the feature, rip the backup lights off, unplug them, and throw them in the garbage can. Don't see him again. Danny Sams, that is one thing that he needs to improve on. Also, just experience overall. I mean, look at this. There are 23 racetracks he's never been to, so I think the experience is going to be an issue for him this year. Just going to so many new racetracks is going to be extremely tough. I have no doubt that he is going to be having a good attitude all the way through it. I think he's a very ambitious driver, and I think he's really looking forward to the season, and he knows. I mean, you got to get experience somehow, right? So I think experience overall is going to hinder this team a little bit, but I think they're still going to have fun along the way. Also, build that notebook that comes along with the experience. Build the notebook for all these racetracks. So in 2026, if they decide to come back and do it again, they can be a little bit more prepared to do it all over. And I do think that he could be a little bit more aggressive in the feature events. I think he can, take some more chances. But I think at the same time, with that more experience, you'll start to learn how to be more aggressive as well in the process. So if Danny Sams could be a little bit meaner on the racetrack, I think that could help him out as well. I'm not saying go in there and door slam guys and put them in the wall and all that stuff, but maybe throw a short slider here and there. Maybe make a bold move for a transfer spot or a spot to the dash or whatever, So I think that's something that Danny Sams could do as well this year, and maybe we'll see it happen. Now, on the prediction department here for Danny Sams, I've got him somewhere. The rookies for me with high limit are extremely tough to gauge as to where they're going to run out in points. How are they going to do in the wins and the top fives, all that stuff, right? For the points, I've got him somewhere between 9th and 13th. I literally cannot nail it down. What I did with Peck and what I did with Marks, I had them, I think it was between like two positions, like a 4th and a 5th and a 5th and a 6th. For Danny Sams, I've got him 9th to 13th because I think him, with all those rookies, you throw Brenham Crouch in there, you throw Casey Kane in there. I think all those guys are going to be very, very close to each other all the way throughout the season. And I think he's going to make a lot of shows. I don't think he's going to miss out on too many main events. As I mentioned, he's very good at the beginning of the night of racing. Qualifying, we know how important that is in sprint car racing. As long as you can qualify well and just hang on in the heat race, he should be able to make most of the shows this year. And then I think he's going to get somewhere between 10 to 15 top 10 finishes. I think that would be a pretty successful season for him. And then I think that he's going to make somewhere between 6 to 9 dashes. Now, where did I come up with that number? I love the number 69, so might as well put a hyphen in there and make it 6 to 9 dashes. I would not be shocked if it's more than that. I think that he will make more than 6 to 9 dashes. I could see him in the double digits in dashes, honestly, just because of how good he's able to qualify. But I'm trying to back it down just a little bit because of all the red that we see here in the middle of the board. So I think it's going to be a fun season for Danny Sams. I am very excited to have him on the High Limit Tour. He's a great personality. He's got a really good following on social media, and he is a rising star. He really turned a ton of heads in Volusia with the Outlaws, was running up front. He was between Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell for the first half of the final, or one of the last races of the week. And so Danny Sams is getting better and better, coming off of the career year, and now trying to transition that into a full-time run with High Limit Racing next year. So let me know your thoughts on Danny Sams. How do you think he's going to do next year? How many top 10s? Where's he run out in points? Let me know all of your thoughts and more down in the comment section below. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we will be back here tomorrow to talk about another driver and their season preview for the 2025 season with Kubota High Limit Racing. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.